when you talk about eating as it relates to exercise is it's not best to exercise on a really incredibly full stomach. And the reason's simple behind that because the blood, when you have a full stomach, is being pushed to the stomach to help digest the food.
Overhead triceps, shoulder press. There's a lot of things that you can do with a simple set of hand weights sitting in a chair. For every 20 minutes you sit, you do 2 minutes of movement.
When you eat something that's inflammatory, what that means is the body looks at that as an invader. And your immune system is triggered to do something about it, to start fighting back. When that happens, it tells the rest of the body there's a problem. And it does that through signals called inflammatory signals.
There's a lot of information out there about when to eat and when to exercise. Let's talk about some of these timings that are appropriate for individuals.
Well, we need to begin with this idea there's no definitive right for everyone all the time. There's no special timing for everyone. We're all different. Age matters, sex matters, activity level matters, it all matters. State of health matters. And so there are some general principles that are really important. I think one that I think people would really understand was this when you talk about eating as it relates to exercise is it's not best to exercise on a really incredibly full stomach. And the reason's simple behind that because the blood, when you have a full stomach, is being pushed to the stomach to help digest the food instead of being pushed out to wherever you're trying to work to get a pump of that muscle. So you lose that circulatory sort of direction. I call it like a misdirection of your blood flow at that point.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
Don't exercise on a full stomach. I think that's number one universal principle.
Now, there are theories about fasting and exercise. And oftentimes those things turn out to be true. Now, if you are a person that is not like a marathon runner, you can fast and exercise without decreasing your muscular power or your aerobic endurance. When you exercise in a fasted state and your body's actually fat adapted, your body's going to burn extra fat as fuel, meaning turning those triglycerides into energy as fuel. Now, a person who is a marathon runner and they're going for to exercise for a long period of time is oftentimes somebody who needs to have something in their stomach to provide blood sugar to the system while they're going a long distance, especially if they don't have extra fat on their frame to shift into a fat burning metabolism while they're on a long run.
Yeah, if you're not doing an elongated cardiovascular oriented work, and I'm talking an hour and a half, and or you're not doing a 30-minute like ultra high heart rate, high intensity exercise, fasting would be okay. If you get up there to more than that on both of those sort of types of exercise or a combination, you probably need to consider some sort of little snack before and perhaps even during. Now, I didn't say a heavy meal, so we're talking snacks, something more maybe in the area of a couple hundred calories or something
Like a protein shake
like
that
a
might
protein.
have some, added carbohydrate to it.
Yeah.
Like even like a Kingdom Fuel would be great.
Maybe like a couple scoops of Kingdom Fuel. Maybe during the exercise, you could have a Kingdom candy bar. That would be excellent for people out there that have these long, drawn-out things. But very important, if you're not doing those extreme sports like that, you probably don't need to be eating like that. And therefore, a fasted, hydrated state would probably be best because, as we talked about, you get that benefit of having that correctly directed blood flow.
Now we know that it takes about 8 hours for food to fully be digested. It goes through the system, goes through the liver, put in the muscles as glycogen, and restored in the liver as glycogen.
Mhm.
So eating just right before you exercise is not actually going to improve the glycogen that's in your muscle to improve power or aerobic endurance. It's not going to give you that energy. So what's really important is the 90 minutes post exercise to get your protein on board very quickly.
Mhm.
Post exercise, that's when your body's really ready to take up that carbohydrate load, is in that 90 minutes right after you've done your training.
Yeah, a lot of folks get really confused in that too. They'll take in a whole bunch of glucose or a whole bunch of carbohydrates post workout because they've been told that's what you're supposed to do. Well, there's a big old dependent factor right there. If you're already really, really overweight and your exercise was not intense, you didn't burn out those glycogen stores, leave it alone. You don't need to replace that. Protein is another story. Depending on the type of exercise you did, if you went and did some heavy weight training, it would be important to bring in some protein because it has amino acids that can be used to sort of repair the muscles you sort of just tore down. Taking it in through a protein shake or something like that, or Kingdom Fuel post workout, I feel is like awesome because it does both worlds sufficiently in all aspects. So if you want to have something, you can. Experts kind of say about 90 minutes. Probably that varies between individuals somewhat, but yet that principle is probably true.
How does that affect somebody who exercises at 6 o'clock at night and they need to refuel their system?
Very important on those. If you exercise late at night, some people are, genetically preferential, bent that direction. You can take something in, but you don't need to be taking high carbohydrates in because that will disturb your sleep pattern, which when it disturbs your sleep pattern, you'll disturb your recovery pattern, so you won't hold your muscle tissue as well.
So it's not that you shouldn't eat, you just need to fuel yourself with the right stuff before you go down to bed at night.
Yeah, I think when you're like that, late night workouts, fat, good quality fats, and protein would be wisdom. Don't do a high carbohydrate meal. Look at Kingdom Fuel or some protein shakes like that. Some people prefer small meals a day. Some people can really get away with one or two. Really all depends on you. But take these principles we talked about here today and make it, part of your mantra.
And of course, that's going to vary for the elite athlete.
Yeah, no question. If you're one of those elite athletes like my wife, you probably need to have more food. Right? So take all these tips and it'll help you out with your exercise improvement.
If you're bound to a chair or not, even that 10-minute workout from a chair, beneficial or not.
It is. We'll show you how up next.
Our Kingdom Candy with a K again. Two flavors. We got salted
Delicious.
caramel and peanut butter. These are great. I mean, they're
kind of like a complete meal.
yeah, they're 200 calories. People want to know that all the time, and not that we're worried about calories, but these things have great ingredients. They're not sweetened with sugars. They don't have those false sugars or fake sugars, artificial
They've got
sugars.
fiber in them.
They do. It's interesting. Salted caramel crunch is our newest flavor. We'll come up with some other stuff at some point, but those can bridge the gap of that sweet tooth craving. They're sweetened with monk fruit, and that's really, if you know what that is, it's not going to raise blood sugar.
It's really only 2 grams of sugar. I refer to it as the sweet without the cheat.
Any of these things out here are designed to be money saving, nutrition giving, and life enhancing. And this is a big deal. So you'll find out, like thousands of other people did, that these things will help you live healthy longer.
Have you ever witnessed any miracles in your lives about anything that you would think of that could be along the same kind of line, if you had any kind of parallel with it?
I guess like my mom and I moving to the country. That was like a big gamble. We moved on the 4th of July, so our anniversary is coming up on moving here. And then that was a huge gamble that she took. I was 4, so I didn't realize what it was. But I don't think if we stayed in Hungary, I would be here right now making this movie. So I guess that's the closest in my life that I have to like kind of a miracle that I didn't know was going to happen?
For me, I actually, when I was like 5 or 6, something like that, I had some kind of disease with like my kidneys that is like super rare and they only study about in med school, but they never really saw a case. So I had it. So I had like doctors from all over like the States kind of coming in and looking at me.
Wow.
And I technically died for like 10 seconds. I flatlined.
Whoa.
Yeah, my mom went out to grab a Buzz Lightyear VHS that I really liked. And when she came back, it was like complete flatline. And I saw an angel that day, which was pretty crazy because the first thing I said to my mom apparently was that there was a really nice man with blonde hair and blue eyes, like saying it's okay.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's
I am
prety crazy.
That's insane. And I'm also so glad I went first. And, I wouldn't have been able to top that. Wow. That's amazing.
Exploring biohacking, bioharmonizing, biosynergizing, stacking, resilience, or anti-fragility.
Start here. No gimmicks, just proven results.
Oftentimes people don't have the energy to get to the gym, the time to get to the gym, or the strength to get to the gym. Let's talk about the benefits of things you can do in a chair or things you can do at home.
Well, a lot of things people can do in the chair and a lot of things people can do at home. I think a lot of times we hear people making excuses. I don't have access to gym equipment, but we're going to spend this whole segment talking about things one can do, even using just this chair we have. Look, there's people today that are in wheelchairs. There's people today that are that do have significant mobility issues because of age or injuries or whatever, or even disease. And so there's a lot you can do at home.
Just simply sitting in a chair, if you have a set of hand weights,
Mhm.
those hand weights can be right beside the chair. We
Yep.
do at work, we do what's called the 20 and 2 rule right from the desk
Mhm.
in the office. And you'll see weights by the side of my desk where I'll do bicep curls, triceps, overhead triceps, shoulder press. There's a lot of things that you can do with a simple set of hand weights sitting in a chair. For every 20 minutes you sit, you do 2 minutes of movement.
Well, yeah, and think about this. So I'm sitting here right now in this chair. Okay, one thing that I could do is I could stand up on my toes. I could flex my calves like that, right? Up and down, up and down. That's a good exercise. I could
good
press
calf
down
exercise.
press down with my heels.
That's
And
the
that would
anterior calf.
also, yeah, anterior side of that, and also it sort of flexes your quadriceps. You could extend your leg and squeeze it up here. Again, working the quadriceps muscles. You could even act like you're riding a bike, lifting up your legs back and forth like that. Good. And you talked about the dumbbell idea. There's a lot of things you can do. One thing that many people don't think about is just working on pulling the abdominal muscle or abdominal cavity back with your strength. Pull it in tight, right? And work on that and work on the posture. Right? Sit up straight. Don't sit like this all the time. Don't sit like this. Don't slump all the time. And the 20 and 2 rule, that's one of the best things ever. For every 20 minutes you sit, stand up for 2. Even standing up like that is doing something. Every time you do that, you did a squat. And a lot of times people think they have to go to the gym, but you really don't. You can even use a chair like this. I won't get up now, but you could get up without your hands. That would be pretty tough for some people. Or if you can't do that, use your hands as an assister, as a sort of a spot, if you will.
Yes, you can do kind of a semi-tricep push
Exactly.
down if you're trying to push yourself up out of a chair. I do like what you said about sitting at the end of the chair and working towards getting up without using your hands. That's definitely going to focus on strengthening the
Yeah.
leg muscles. Then once you get to the standing position, of course, standing on one leg, try to stand on one leg for 10 seconds. And then stand on the other leg for 10 seconds. And as you stand on one leg, of course, tighten the quadriceps and tighten the glutes while you're standing. You're going to improve the strength in that leg, and you're also going to improve balance.
Well, and none of these cost money. They didn't cost you a gym membership, and you didn't think about bands. What about those exercise bands? Those could be pretty good, right?
That's right. In one of the chairs we have at home, it's kind of got a leg similar to this chair. Those bands are around the end of it where you can do shoulder presses. You can pull it to the front, do bicep curls. You can actually push forward in a sort of a semi-rowing kind of action. Bands can come in really, really handy when you're using it for when you're sitting in a chair, using it for chair exercises.
Yeah, and then people say, well, what if I only do it 10 minutes? Is that enough? Sure it is. 10 minutes is better than nothing. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. We talk about getting blood, oxygen, and nutrients to the tissues. The only way to really saturate your cells with blood, oxygen, and nutrients is to move. If we're sedentary, we're not getting good oxygenation, good nutrition, good blood flow to the tips of our toes and the tips of our fingers. So 10 minutes is definitely going to be better than nothing. And there are a lot of studies that talk about 15-minute high-intensity routines where you're actually getting your heart rate up for a 15-minute period of time actually improves fitness.
Well, it does. And I think when you get into this whole idea of exercise, we live in a sedentary society. A lot of people have sit-down jobs. Not just 10 minutes. Once you get 10 minutes, don't stop there. Make your day a day of movement while you do the work. And if you'll just do that, you'll find yourself more active. Metabolism will go up. You'll invariably get more activity, more steps, and therefore your health will improve.
Yeah, so if an individual is actually confined to a chair, there's a lot of things that you can do to improve blood, oxygen, and nutrients to your tissue. And then you can work towards getting more mobile over time. What would be the goal? I mean, 15 minutes works, but what is the traditional goal?
Well, I look at it like I want to get 150 minutes per week. When you look at that, that would pretty much agree with the American Heart Association as far as what's recommended. It's one of the things I do agree with them on. But get 150 minutes a week, and you might have to start at 100. You might have to start at 75, but start somewhere. And the more you move, the more you live. The less you move, the less you live.
And the closer you are to
rigor mortis. Right? So, movement's life. And so just make sure that you're doing this, and do not allow the excuse of not being able to go to the gym, afford a gym membership, or not having equipment hold you back. Use the tools we just gave you, and you'll find that movement is life and will give you more quality of life.
what is an anti-inflammatory diet, and why is it so important for the future of your health?
Hint, hint, it will keep you alive longer.
Let's shine the spotlight on one of our star supplements.
The human body can make most of the types of fats it needs from other fats or raw materials, but not omega-3 fatty acids, also called omega-3 fats or N3 fats.
These are essential fats that the body must get from food.
Biomega 1000 provides a potent dose of omega-3 essential fatty acids sourced from a strategically placed fishing facility in the far South Pacific Ocean off the coast of Chile.
Each capsule delivers an impressive 1,000 milligrams of EPA and DHA, and the capsules also contain vitamin E. See the link below for a special offer, and remember, don't be fooled by cheap online knockoffs.
Introducing OK Movie Stream, your ticket to a world of cinematic classics and wonders, right from the heart of Oklahoma and the surrounding areas.
The Neals are moving to Oklahoma.
Dive into a world of captivating stories and extraordinary talent, all on OK Movie Stream.
Oh yeah, I did. You see, I gave you a crazy look because I
Choose the option that suits you best. Watch for free with commercials, binge watch your favorites for 3 days, or unlock ad-free streaming for just $10 a year. Join the OK Movie Stream community today and embark on a cinematic journey like never before.
Our flagship product is called Kingdom Fuel. Tell us a little bit about Kingdom Fuel and why it's so good.
We saw people struggling with the idea and concept of it's too expensive to eat healthy. So we thought, okay, that's the problem. Let's find a solution. So we found a solution for $5 or under per meal. And that represented the birth of the idea of Kingdom Fuel. So Kingdom Fuel is organic pea protein. It's got greens and reds in it. So this is the the phytonutrients from green plants and red plants that we all talk about. Eat your vegetables, right? It's also got vitamins and minerals in it. So it's got a complete complex of that. And it's got also soluble and insoluble fiber, which the difference between the two is profound. Soluble actually gathers moisture and makes you full, and the insoluble goes through the system and grabs things like damaged particles.
The body runs on nutrients, it doesn't run on medication. And Kingdom Fuel is a complete multivitamin and
Yep.
mineral. Let's talk about the importance of an anti-inflammatory nutritional protocol and why it is so important to your long-term health.
When we talk about anti-inflammatory nutrition, I think this is huge.
It's
You know,
key.
Hippocrates said, and he's the father of modern day medicine, he said, "Let food be thy medicine." And he was talking about anti-inflammatory foods. He wasn't talking about the opposite, which would be inflammatory foods. And today, this subject is not talked about enough. And just to put it, we'll talk about what the anti-inflammatory foods are, but just to put it in perspective, when you eat something that's inflammatory, what that means is the body looks at that as an invader, a foreigner, something that's going to cause you harm. And your immune system is triggered to do something about it, to start fighting back. When that happens, it tells the rest of the body there's a problem. And it does that through signals called inflammatory signals. So, in other words, inflammatory foods create inflammation, and inflammation is a part of every single disease process. So I'll venture to guess out there that most disease processes are heavily developed because of the inflammatory diet.
Well, and Hippocrates was right. He said, let medicine be thy food and food be thy medicine. So that means that every time you put your fork to your teeth, you are making a medical decision.
True.
The most important medical decision that you make every single day is at the end of your fork. Some of us make it 3 times a day. Some of us make it 3 times a day and 2 snacks. 365 days of the year. Now that's a lot of medical decisions. And if we're making all inflammatory medical decisions, meaning inflammatory food, and inflammation is the precursor to all chronic sickness and disease, we are walking down a pathway of health destruction over time. So it's very important to understand what an inflammatory and anti-inflammatory nutritional protocol looks like.
I find it humorous that you see articles now in medical journals that say, well, Harvard University Medical School is studying the positive effects of the anti-inflammatory diet. I'm like, duh, you don't need a degree to understand that eating real food is really good for you. Anti-inflammatory foods could really be defined as when God made something, it's in its original packaging, original form, and original placement. That's really simple, you know? And so when we talk about giving people an anti-inflammatory food list, we list those things out there for you. I mean, you could look at like fruits and vegetables and even the ingredients within Kingdom Fuel is considered anti-inflammatory foods because it's just food. But in its original form, that makes it beneficial as opposed to when you don't find it in its original form, it doesn't. One example I always give people is there's no boxed cookies hanging off of trees in the Garden of Eden.
There's no donut trees in the Garden
No
of Eden?
donut trees either. None. No.
Well,
No French fry vines. None of that either.
so the body is dependent upon nutrients, and we have to get nutrients and nutrition from food. And the more processed and packaged and the more additives, preservatives, that just means more metabolic waste products for this body to have to deal with. So we become riddled with chronic sickness and disease when we pile things on our system that have glycated sugars in them, that have oxidized oils in them, that have all kinds of additives and preservatives in them. When you turn that label over, if you can't understand the ingredients that are on a label, it's likely an inflammatory food, and it's time to put it back on the shelf and get something else.
We need to stay on the perimeter of grocery stores. Just a couple simple examples of, and people know this, but let's just give examples, give them pink thinking right. An apple, that would be an anti-inflammatory food. Apple sauce would be an inflammatory food, right? If we look at perhaps maybe Avocado. An avocado as a fruit is an anti-inflammatory food. When you look at a processed boxed meal, that would be an inflammatory food. If you look even further, you could go with a grass-fed, grass-finished, free-range cow meat, beef. That would be an anti-inflammatory food. But if you have that within sort of this process mechanism where it's been genetically altered, maybe it's been chemically altered, chemically filled, that would then be an inflammatory food. So the gamut is there clear for people to see, just original form, original placement, and original packaging.
So, what 3 biohacks would you give a person, to our listeners today, that they can have with them at all times in case they get in a crunch? When they're on the run, the hour's late, they're pressed for time, what 3 things can they carry with them in their backpack, their fanny pack, their briefcase, their satchel, their purse, their merce, whatever it is that they're carrying with them?
Well, I think really, when you look at this, they're right here. One on your left, one in the center, and one on your right. Starting off the one on the right, salted caramel Kingdom candy. That is a naturally anti-inflammatory ingredient food, right? That's a good snack. Kingdom Fuel, you can put it in the bag or a little shaker cup like we have here. That's really good to have. And then over there to your left, the peanut butter Kingdom candy is also great. 1, 2, 3. You can live off those things. Further, if you look ahead of that, you could put some fruits in your purse, right? Really simple, or immerse, as you say. But put this in there and use those things, and it turns out to be beneficial. It's not that hard.
Yeah, you can also put a little serving of raw nuts. You could put, like you said, a couple pieces of fruit. You can always carry those things with you, along with Kingdom Fuel and your Kingdom candy of choice.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be hard. Anti-inflammatory eating will give you more resilience against the modern day sickness and disease. On the other hand, if you consume the standard American diet, you can guarantee inflammation, which is contributory to sickness and disease. So, well, look at it as choose life or choose death. Choice is yours.
How can boosting your daily nutrition save you money? I'm Dr. Michele Sherwood.
And I'm Dr. Mark Sherwood. Kingdom Fuel costs about 1/3 of the average lunch and will supersize your nutrition.
Our unique meal shakes are balanced, low glycemic, rich in fiber with 20 grams of clean protein, essential vitamins and minerals, healthy fats, and organic fruits and vegetables.
Kingdom Fuel is a simple start to a transformed life.